being recorded. I think there are only 2 actual branding members here right now. I expect Ken to come in. I expect Leslie. Renee is away. I have not heard from Charlene, but she hasn't been dialing into these, so we'll find out if she comes in. All right. Let me screen share the agenda so that I can keep track of it. Okay. For the 2 actual members, or the 2 other actual members of branding who are here, Lafredo and Obert, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 3rd, 2021 meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, it will be a yes to approve, a no not to approve.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The motion carries. The minutes are approved. Okay, old business progress reports. Item 1, marketing plan update and rollout. We had it on here for Amy to come in to let us know where she is with the, oh, who is that? That might be, oh, I think this is Leslie, not Amy. Give her a second to come in. I have not spoken to Amy about this at the office. Let me just make sure that I've got Leslie captured here. Leslie, you in?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. No big deal. I have not spoken to her specifically about this. I know that I went up and installed the fonts and gave a letterhead template to Marla for Wetlands last week. I think Wetlands was the last of the town offices. Well, Conservation maybe not either, because Carolyn has been working only remotely since COVID, and I don't have her logins. But yeah, staff I think is all covered now. P&Z, EDC, MISRAC, the garden, any commission or committee that I'm the advisory staff member on, I can tell you that those have been adjusted in their internal letterheads. Leslie, did you get one over to your commission to look at? Leslie.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing it and finalizing it at our March 10th meeting. We haven't met since January.
Oh, okay. All right. So if Amy does come in, we'll just circle back to this one.
I have a question about the Water Pollution Control Authority. Are they, should they also be using the town letter, the logo?
I would say so. I mean, they are an authority, which means they're an entity of their own. You know, if you want to run that by Dave Chappett, I mean, you are the guy on that
I am, and
board committee.
I mentioned it at our meeting February, and they had not heard about it. And I said that I thought that somebody from town hall would be getting in touch with them. So they have an administrative assistant who I believe handles most of their correspondence. And we do not use a recording secretary for our meetings. We're only just starting to go remote with them. But there's a very informal looking set of minutes and agenda that comes out, and none of that has any letterhead.
Yeah, some of the outliers like that are going to be a little more complicated because I pretty much have to go in and install, or Renee or somebody else has to go in with a thumb drive and install those fonts. And they don't always, it doesn't always work. When I try to install them on my home desktop, it says that the fonts are installed, but when I try to use that font, it clearly is not the same one. So I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, just touch on it again, Charlie, and but there's nothing to prompt me to get in touch with them. So, you know, a reminder via an email to Dave that you copy me in on is probably a good way to do that. I don't know a better way. Okay, item B, Chairwoman contact with Civic Plus for adjustments to website. Renee's not here tonight. I know she has been in touch with them, and some of the kinds of changes that we've asked for, some of them are sufficiently complicated that they'd have to wait until our contract is renewed because it's essentially more structural. Leslie, did you talk to Renee any more about that?
No, I can report on C and D, but not really B.
Okay, well, we'll let that one go as well. Other than saying, I know that she has reached out. There are some changes we're trying to effect, and Leslie and Marie and I have sort of looked at some options that she's batting back and forth with the Civic Plus guy. Obviously, none of them have been put in place yet, but they're more piecemeal. So that piece might be a little slower since there's some structural stuff with the way the website's constructed, but it'll all get there. Okay, reporting on C. Ms. Munschauer.
Oh, you want me to take that one? Sure. So we had an interview with a student from Turtle Memorial High School. She's a junior and interested in the intern position. So she had a brief interview with us of the overview of the position and is doing some, I guess, kind of not really tasks, but projects, to kind of see an example of her writing skills, and then also her creative ability on, promotional materials, creating a flyer and doing a news story write-up. So will come back in on Thursday. So we're just going to see how she does with that, and then most likely do an offer, and then start scheduling her to come in and do remote work. And we have a lot of things to promote coming out into the spring and summer. So we're excited to have some additional help.
And I think that actually flows right into D, the promotional calendar rollout, which again, rolling it out in a formal sense, I think has been slow, partly because we've lacked the extra hand of the social media intern. But certainly we're aware of it. I also downloaded the other day, and it's not exactly the same as a promotional calendar, but a nonprofit fundraising calendar guide, which has some sort of helpful kinds of themes and dates that we maybe could look at. And I keep meaning to send it over to Leslie and Renee, but I've got it saved at the office. It was pretty well formatted.
On the calendar, I know Renee is working on a letter to go to other departments and organizations about the calendar and its intent and sort of what types of events would go on that. And that, that should be going out, I would say, in the next, couple of weeks. She's away this week taking some vacation time, which is great. And so I do know that, the library has sent a couple events over to me, and I've put those up on there. And I received training on doing events, and so did the rec assistant. So we just trying to finalize what the avenue is going to be of who's going to get those events and the timeline of how quickly we'd like them, just because if it is going to be someone like the intern who's entering those events and going to the intern email, if somebody sends it, and their hours or they're out that week and that email is not being checked, we just want to guarantee, want enough notice of when an event is going out and being updated. But they look good so far on the website, and the hope is really, to have something every week just to show all the great things that we have going on in town. So.
And again, not exactly the same as the promotional calendar, but I have made something of an effort to try to get press releases out with some regularity. My original goal was after each monthly commission board meeting, where I'm a staff member. It hasn't quite worked out that way. I'm probably getting a presser out every other week, which is, certainly better than we were doing before. But not necessarily as aggressive as I think we could be. And a lot of that is just because I'm so constrained for time. I push them off to the end of the week, and sometimes I get to them and sometimes I don't. So I'll try to improve that. consolidation of social media pages. Am I correct, Ken? Leslie, maybe you can confirm. Did Rich
Yes,
did Rich discontinue the DPW page? He did, right?
he has administrative use on the town page. He discontinued the DPW page. We did leave, I know there was some discussion about rolling the new animal control page, Thompson Animal Control page into the town page, but she does post pretty often. And I just feel like it would, there's missing pets every other day. So it would kind of bog down the town page. So I think it is important to leave that separate. And it is kind of very specific news that's, of course we do share to the town page when we see those or when she lets us know. But I think it's best to keep that page separate for now.
And are there any other weird outliers out there that need to be corralled?
I still need to fold in Turkey Trot into trails, but we're just, got to figure out the timing of that and when to do that. So, but I think the trails committee and Turkey Trot folks are on board with that. So.
All right. Item 2, trails update, Trainwreck Park. I had a touch base call. I have an every other week touch base call with National Park Service partners. So Steph and Mallory, not Elizabeth today, and I think all 4 of the UConn students just had a quick meeting to get a progress report on where UConn is in their process. They expect to have the video component for their final presentation ready. I think their deadline is the 11th of April. So by the end of this month, we should get some more draft material from them. Mallory sent me over some stuff about specs for the windows on the past signage, potential vendors and costs and that kind of thing, so that I can pursue that Connecticut Humanities Grant by the 5th of June. Lafredo, Obert, you want to pop anything in there?
One observation is that we had a discussion the other night, and it's evident that there's differing of opinion as to the scope that we should be looking at and to the amount of support or fundamental level support that DEEP and that CONDOT will be putting into it. And if they cover some of it, what will it be and what should we look at covering beyond that? I believe it will be very helpful for us to get a clarification on that. Joe Iamartino asked me if I would write up a note for the Thompson Historical Society that emphasized the rail to trail network in New England and how it comes through Thompson and is part of the this project area. I worked up a draft and sent it to him. I don't know whether it will go into the newsletter or not. The last point that I think is very important for us to look at is because of the condition of that cart bridge and because of the likelihood that more visitors into town will be heading up to take a look at the bridge and they'll be seeing that stone chamber. One of our members of the Trails Committee told us that that property has gone up for sale again. And I know that there are grants available to acquire properties, but I don't know the limits of them. I think that perhaps that's something whenever you or whoever will reach out to Lori at DEEP might ask about that, or maybe somebody from the National Park Service will know about it. They've been reluctant to even mention it, although it showed up on their visuals when we had our last public meeting. And when is the next public meeting? I don't know, but those are details that I hope we can have worked out by the time we do have a next public meeting.
Okay. Lafredo, your 2 cents?
Well, again, for the people that weren't at our meeting, we had a special meeting regarding the train wreck park on Monday, and Charlie is correct. There was some differences of opinion that we discussed. Specifically, one of the issues was Charlie's desire to include a bridge for the trail at the train wreck access parking lot. And the general opinion was that that was not the right location for it. And it was not something we wanted to interrupt the planning that we have going on for that site right now. We have a limited time frame to still work with the National Park Service and with the Yukon kids, and we want to proceed with the planning that we're looking at right now rather than complicate matters and maybe delaying the whole process. Another big issue that came out of it from our chair, from Karen, was the communication that a lot of emails are going around and probably going to partners that really shouldn't be part of planning discussions, and it was making things more complicated. I know I didn't bring it up specifically, but I've noticed where some of those emails did include the National Park Service people, specifically Stephanie, and I don't think we want to be presenting an image that we are all disagreeing and we're changing plans constantly. They're trying to achieve a goal for us with a limited time frame, and we want to help get that goal and get to what we can do. Obviously, there's all sorts of wonderful ideas that Charlie has. We all agree with that. Charlie has some great vision, but we can't let some of that vision for items that even if they were a perfect idea could interfere with the process that we have going on. And I think that was the general conclusion that I came away with.
And just tangentially to the train wreck park in relationship to the airline trail, 2 of the ongoing projects, the RFP closed today for the design consultant on the Z-Fold map brochures. I know of one vendor who submitted a bid because I got copied on that. I don't know if any others have been received. I'll touch base with Gene Davis at Connecticut RC&D hopefully before the end of the week and figure out who the review panel is. It might just be, well, if there's only one, there's no review panel required. If there's more than one, it might just be me and Gene, but I think we'd like to have some of the members of the other municipalities who bought in review that as well. And this past Friday, I did manage to submit a grant to the Eastern Chamber, the Chamber of Commerce of Eastern Connecticut, for a grant they're offering to nonprofits. So TLGV was the lead, although I wrote the grant and submitted it, for TLGV, Teague, and Thompson Rec to partner on a pilot summer camp program, 2 two-week sessions. Each of the days of each of the sessions, the kids start off in Thompson and they go to a different section of the airline trail and do different location-specific activities, whether they're ecology or agriculture related or local history and culture. So fingers crossed that we get a good result from that. We had great letters of support, including from National Park Service, which is a nice feather in my cap. I've got a pretty good relationship with the Eastern Chamber because of my work on the tourism district. So I certainly think they'll at least give it a close reading. And then we should know by the end of the month if that's going to be a program that's accepted and that we can move forward with for Thompson. All right, let's blow through some of this so that we can get Brian Flaherty on. But item 3, 11th Village and Maker Fairs.
Yeah,
we are, go ahead, Les.
Tara, if you want.
Yeah, please.
11th Village registration open Uh-oh, Ken.
That sounds like a problem.
We all know when Gail is calling Ken.
Yeah.
Small lesson.
11th Village registration opened on Monday, and a social media post went out today. Tira also sent a press release out, and will be and I
How
sent
much
an
is
email
that?
to previous vendors of our maker fairs and community art shows and community day. So hopefully we'll start to see registrations trickling in for that. I did get one phone call right off the bat of a vendor interested in a whole month, so that was great.
We're not going to use very much.
And Maker Faire registration is solid. We're at 60 right now.
We want to get the dust on
Waiting
that.
until the governor makes some decisions about the gathering size and does another announcement to increase that size, which we're confident he will do. And then we will look at adding some more vendors to that event. We had 62 last year. We had 2 squeaked in the day of. So we feel confident around 60. We have a couple of food trucks that are going to be there that day. We just booked some music. Yeah, the event's moving along nicely. And, we just keep your fingers crossed for good weather. That's it.
So if anybody knows small, micro business persons, entrepreneurs who would be appropriate fits for that, now is the time to talk it up. I'm going to contact some folks I know up in the Worcester area, who might find this of interest. But we've put some effort into getting this thing activated and on the ground. Let's do whatever we can to make sure that it is actually active by getting folks in there. And maybe like the Maker Fairs, it will develop its own momentum, and it'll be easy peasy like the Maker Faire registrations were. But it is sort of a more unusual format, so I suspect it'll move a little more slowly at the beginning until people get used to it. So, and Yacino, I think you said you knew some people, right? You're on mute. He's nodding.
Yeah, no, I did contact a couple of people. I haven't heard back yet. And this is a reminder. I'll see if I can get answers before our EDC meeting.
That'd be great. Item 4, Community Garden and 65 Main Street. The Community Garden registration has been live since February 1st, I think. Last time I checked with Leslie, we did not have anybody signed up for individual plots. I think part of that is because the people most likely to find it of general interest are also the least likely to be online, and all of our publications have in fact been online. So in the garden group meeting last week, we talked about the Girl Scouts as one of the 3 youth organization partners. They are already planning on doing Easter bags to the residents of Gladys Green. So flyering directly to them with a gift of a seed packet, trying to pair a scout with, an elder with a younger, either a scout or somebody through the Teague mentoring program. And we'll try to do some direct outreach to Carriage Square and 3 Rows. Carriage Square is going to be a challenge. They do not have a central management office on site, and there's no real way to access individual doors or mailboxes. So we're going to have to figure out some kind of alternative there. And I think Teague was going to handle 3 Rows because of their clientele. The 65 Main Street Master Project, I submitted my report to the Turtelot Trust last week. I believe everybody on this meeting would have been copied on that epic answer to the questions of the trustees. I think it clocked in as 97 pages compiled over the 2 weeks that I had to put it together. I think that I have pretty thoroughly answered their questions. Tommy Angelo tells me that the trustees will schedule a meeting to review it and then ask me and Brian Santos to come in after they've discussed the report for whatever additional questions they have. So I don't have a timeline for that yet, but hopefully it will be not too long. Anybody have any input on any of those those two items, since we already talked about Trainwreck Park?
I have a comment about the calendar, the promotional calendar. I got an email last week from Richard Fries, who is the man that's promoting the Natchug Epic. And he said this year they're going to be running it over a 3-day period in the end of March because they're trying to keep the crowd down. I think that might be something we would like to put a little bit of promotion behind. And I don't know that we have enough time to get something organized to coincide with the opening of the 11th Village. But I have suggested that we might try to have an event that is just for within the borders of the town of Thompson. And if we can't do it for May 1st, maybe we could do it for the first weekend in June. More to follow on that.
Yeah, Charlie, I was on the Board of Selectmen call, and Richard was on that call requesting road usage. So absolutely, it's something that we would add to the community calendar so folks know what's happening in town. We do have Connecticut Trails Day the first weekend in June, so we would want to, not spread ourselves too thin, but yeah, there's
I have suggested that if we do something which is exclusive to the town of Thompson, that it be routed so that it's just on the other side of the river from the Riverside Park, so that they could come down. I forget what the road is called. It might be Red Bridge Road, and then make a right-hand turn and head down Reardon Road, or over the backside, whatever that is. So that they wouldn't necessarily be coming right into where all of the activities are at the 11th Village, but they'd be close enough, especially with the parking lot over at St. Joseph's being open, that there could be some spillover back and forth. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I see a connection that we might be able to tap into and
yeah,
help to market the town that way.
Certainly, Richard made a good case and really showed I mean, Ken was on that call, I think showed the Board of Selectmen really what an asset, and what you've spoken to for a long time, Charlie, that an asset and opportunity for riders. Putting an event like that together takes a lot of work, a lot of coordination. So we got our hands pretty full with these events right now, but maybe when one of our to-do lists falls off and we've checked that box, it's an event we could look at, because it's certainly like you've made the case many times, it is certainly an opportunity and a big draw and interest for the area.
Yeah, we did approve that last night for the 26th and the 28th. They got one day in between, but what Charlie was talking about, getting near the Riverside Park, looking at the schedule, the routes that they had, they weren't going to be going anywhere near that, because they were
I think that I understood that as well. I was looking for something new that would tie in more with the 11th Village area and timeline.
It's not a bad idea, Charlie, especially since we have some weekends where there is no other special event. So, and we want, ideally, in each of those 2-week rental periods, there would be at least one other event driving traffic down to the park. Probably 2/3 of the dates do have at least one special event of some kind. And in the new business stuff, let's talk about the cycling and the new business and the 11th Village strategies for action steps later, so that we can be mindful of Flaherty's time and get him in, since he took his time to dial in. Mr. Flaherty, I don't see you anymore. You've disappeared from my.
Oh, I'm still here.
No, it's just my view because I'm screen sharing. So
Oh,
I'm gonna stop sharing this, and I'm gonna pull up the one sheet thing from Santos.
Okay.
Yeah, I have some more stuff to share too, because this
Okay.
wasn't doing any justice to anybody clearly with the email communication that was going on with it.
Well, I mean, I thought the intent was clear, and the only reason I changed it to the symbol font
Yeah.
is just to, make it clear that the stuff that had to do with your company had nothing to do with what we're discussing.
Sure.
But Santos, do you want to
Yeah, I'll
talk
take the
to
lead.
Flaherty about your idea here? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bri Flaherty, thank you for joining tonight. I
Sure
really
thing.
appreciate it. So where do I begin? I think there's a lot of random places for me to be. I'll start at the kind of like the surface. So when I look and I hear about our town, it's kind of like in random places. It's like Thompson Proud's site. We got a recreation site. We got various other parts and pieces. I don't have to go through all of them. You get the general gist, right? But I feel like that we should create a document, meaning either this branding or EDC committee led by and helped by you, that kind of brings all these things together in some sort of summarization, right? In a nice, orderly fashion. And I'm calling that, at least in my opinion, and this is totally up for debate, so I don't want anyone to think that I'm pushing this down people's throats here. I'm calling it the Did You Know program, right? Because I would love to be able to create a document like this and say, in coordination with the Last Green Valley, and say, hey, when you make a publication, Last Green Valley, we've talked in the past that you would be happy to send out some sort of marketing or publication about Thompson. And I would love to have a document that's professionally organized, easy to read, easy to follow, that this kind of walks down the things that we have in town, what we're doing in town, just general things that we have to offer. Now, can I share my screen, Tira?
Yeah. Let me just stop this and enable share screen. Okay, you should be good.
All right, this will give a little bit better justice to what I'm talking about here, right? So again, same type of title. Did you know about this in Thompson? And then I always have I break it into categories like recreation, right? And that could be the recreation department. That could be our trails committee coming up with a nice outline of data that's summarized on a page, maybe having a nice photo of the trail or the basketball league, things of that nature, right? And then as you move on to page 2, this is just one of my projects, again, just for the record, school in Gloucester. But, we have restaurants, right? Maybe some photos of Anya, Milltown Grill, Our Father's Table, things like that, just suggesting offerings to people, okay? And as you work your way through, again, we have a little page about maybe services. And then, in my opinion, one of the most important ones at the end is progress in town, right? What are the activities that we're doing, like the 65 Main project? Maybe it's the River Mill complex. Maybe it's discussions about solar. Maybe it's discussions about replacing the track, right? Just things to energize people to be like, wow, Thompson is really trying to do things, right? I just want to have this mindset shift of these are the things that Thompson has people out there. Why don't you come here? Okay. Look at the concrete project that we're working on. We're trying to fancy up the town. There's a lot of people here that are trying to move things forward, right? So you're here because I really like, obviously this is from my marketing department, but we're leaning on you to kind of strategize that, right? And then maybe the ultimate goal, Bri, is I really want to understand like a true launch, right, of this document, and your strategies behind that. Now, I'm having a real hard time. Like, listen, this is my company. This is my marketing strategy. I know that branding and EDC is not a company, right? But it's the same type of information, right? We're trying to produce an informative document that people can easily read and quickly grasp what we're trying to do and what we offer, right? So there's a whole strategy upon the launch that maybe you can help us with later down the road, because I don't know all the things to make that happen. Right. So that's kind of just all of my thoughts put on the table here as quickly and as summarized as possible. So I'll let you digest that and respond.
No, thank you, Brian. You know what? We loved the project we did with you, and for you, and it has been kind of heartening to listen to the progress of the earlier part of this meeting, since so many of the things you're talking about are familiar. And our goal, as we worked and put together the message development and the brand package, media relations, the brand logos, and the calendar that you've been spending some time talking about as well, and then the best practices to get them out. Our goal was to put them in your hands and say, here you go. Here you have the tools, and here's something we worked on together, so that you could then make the most of it and go forward. And to be able to have the opportunity maybe to come back and then help you with something like this, having had the benefit of the experience of the SWOT analysis that we did and some of the work that we did is our team's excited about it. I think as I listen to you, some of the critical questions will be, what is it that you want the document to be able to do? And I like what you said, quickly read, easily understood. Here's what's going on. To show I think what we wanted to show and what we did was a town on the move. And there certainly are a lot of things that are going on. So where it breaks down to is then the next step is, so what's the audience? Is this an in-town audience? Now, in-town audiences, and when you're talking about, events and things like that, they tend to lend themselves to an internet home because they can be refreshed quite easily.
Yep.
Rather than a static document.
Yep.
But it may also be, and I think a lot of this, and this came out of the discussion we had, is we really wanted to have the audience be outside of Thompson. We wanted people to know this was a place to come to live and work. And we do some work with commercial real estate developers and have the ability to kind of tap into them to say, all right, so what attracts you? What have you seen? And I'll be having lunch with one of them on Friday, and have an opportunity to pick his brain on a couple things. But I intended to raise this to say, hey, what have you seen that catches your eye? So I think, as this branding committee moves into forming your strategy, I think it's just, what is the audience and who is the primary audience? What is specifically you'd like it to do? And then, we'd be happy to work with you on it. And we can have some pieces that maybe are a little bit more static, and maybe a few that are easier to change out. But, document gets old from the moment it gets printed. And
Sure.
If you're looking for something durable, it's probably less so that calendar than it is, did you know? This is it. All roads, all trails lead to Thompson. And we can build on what the tools that we've given you, if you so choose. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. At least in my opinion, not speaking for others, I think our primary is people outside of Thompson.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be dead honest with you. I feel like we do need to be informative to the local people, because I attend a lot of these things. I go to a lot of public meetings, and I got to tell you, I'm not convinced that people know what the hell we're trying to do in this town.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, we just had a meeting the other night, and I sit there biting my tongue half the time because I just don't get it. And I don't want to be combative with people, but I feel like we just need to keep in mind that we need to inform people in this town and what we're trying to do. There's a lot of positive movement in this town as well. As far as a static document, yeah, I totally agree that the day it's printed, it's the day it gets old, right? But I feel like at least starting there provides something. As we do work, and we have talked about, this group has talked in the past about having kind of a website that's kind of focused around all of these things that we just got done talking about. It's just who controls that, what funding source. What's the young lady's name? Kelsey? Is it Kelsey?
Kelsey, yeah, from CHA.
Yeah, we've talked
and
about
she is still
that in the past.
still with CHA.
Yeah. So we've talked about that in the past as well. So I feel like this will evolve into that, Bri. At least I hope it does. But I at least want to have all these ideas put down on a piece of paper and kind of start the process. So this is kind of like the icebreaker conversation.
Sure.
So my observations on this, and Santos reminded me of some of them as he was speaking. So when I look at this document compared to what the work you've already done for us at Sullivan Lashane, the project report from that project was our strategy, right? That is setting up a framework for how we, as a committee or a group of committees working on these projects, proceed. So to me, this is now, we're looking at that implementation and we still need a little bit of a push. Concurrently with that, talking about a static document versus a fluid document, we're obviously talking about the difference between analog and digital products here. And I think that our website, a continuing criticism, even after we made massive improvements, because we did make massive improvements. Flaherty, you never saw how it was in 2017 before it was what it is now. It was, borderline embarrassing. And it's much, much better now, but it is still fundamentally static. Some of that is inevitable because we don't have the manpower to be constantly updating and changing, but it's also fundamentally text. It's not designed for a true digital user. It takes a lot of clicks to get anything done. It's the interface is not fundamentally visual. The images are not fundamentally grabbing. So much better than it was. But I mean, everybody here has been on websites that they enjoy being on and looking for information and clicking through photos and seeing, and how to start making those changes. Now, to some extent, I know we're going to be limited by what our contract with Civic Plus allows. And unfortunately, Renee couldn't be here tonight. She's got the most interaction with the vendor. But Kelsey from CHA, who Santos referred to earlier, started to do a mock-up for us on the EDC page. And again, it's much better, but because that was really just a mock-up, we can't fully implement that. But all of these info spreads and pages about projects, if it were me, I would like each of those pages to be a real page on the website, something you can, turn like a digital book and say, wow, this is a great story to read. And yes, to also create the analog equivalent, although you have to be more careful in what you do there. Obviously, again, it's outdated as soon as you create it. Yeah. But the level of implementation, I think, needs to be better than we still quite have the tools to achieve on our own.
Mm-hmm. It also strikes me that when you talked, Brian, about an event and a launch, that this could be something that we pick a date to launch and obviously have it a meaningful date on the town's calendar.
Yep.
And then every year it gets renewed. Doesn't have to be, it'd be great for us to do it every year, but I mean, to be able to know that every October 1st, there's going to be a new a document, a new did you know, or a new version of what's going on with Thompson that can grow with you. You can make it in a PDF that is flippable digitally, and that, we
have them.
Living on a website, you've got other opportunities to have more live things take place. But the neat thing is to be able to do that around a launch event, to have that document that can go, and every realtor can have that, that the chamber anybody, even, Last Green Valley, hey, they'll send it out on your behalf. And so there's that consistency getting out there. You're building the consistent look and feel. I think it's a good next step in the brand strategy. And I think it's absolutely doable. And I didn't mean to talk myself out of it with the static versus living document, because I think you can do it in a way that people see it. It's visually impactful, and they're going to want to look at it and understand it and get it. And you're right. I mean, you're never a prophet in your own hometown. I live in Watertown. We get the same thing. How come we don't have this, this, and this? Well, we do. And also, it may seem more fragmented because there are so many different entities and different things going on in the town, but it is easy to build a unified brand for the people on the outside. Let's go to Thompson.
Yeah.
What are we
Let me
going
show
for?
you. Let me show you something else too that
Okay.
my company does here that we do every year for my internal staff, and I call it the WT Rich newsletter. And it pretty much just outlines everything that we've done throughout the year. Right. I give at the very beginning, like you said, when you said flip page, I was like, oh, I got
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So I write a letter to the entire company every year, just saying about the COVID situation, blah, 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 awards to projects, various things. Here's all my staff, and then look at that. Did you know? Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you just flip through. Here's our featured job in Cambridge, but this is an easy read. I mean, look at it, it acts just like a book, right? So
Santos, is that actually accessible off of your website, or is that a document that only goes within the email to your employees and team?
it does only go to my employees and team because this is a real personal document. It talks about people getting married and their kids and
Yeah.
and stuff
No,
like
I'm
that.
thinking about how we might make something like that accessible.
Yeah, but it's literally is a link, right, Charlie? So you can put on any publication that you want right here. So I just have this link, and you just hit go, and it reads this catalog, and then bang, you're in it.
So if we had something like a picture, a template that following your train of thought on the homepage on our website,
Yep.
and it had a picture, and on it said, visuals, restaurants, and activities, and things like that. To Tara's point about it being more visually attractive, so that somebody goes to the Town of Thompson CT, they open up the homepage, and they see a picture on the side that says, updates, what are we all about? And it would lead them to something like this.
Yeah.
We could put a lot of information in there. Also, this allows for links to other things.
Oh, absolutely.
When you were talking earlier, you mentioned Anya's, and I went through our website, and it took me 4 clicks to get to Anya's menu. If we had a picture of Anya's on the homepage and you just click on that and go to their website, it makes it more user friendly for the next generation of people that are growing up with this stuff.
Absolutely.
And so what I heard when I heard you talking about this, and I was thinking more of like a porthole on our front page, on our homepage, that would take people to this kind of things. And before I forget, Brian Flaherty, you mentioned commercial realtors a few times, and we've been batting this around, trying to figure out how we can be more effective with commercial properties in town. So on Friday, when you're talking to a commercial realtor, say, hey, by the way, a client of mine is interested in how they can be more effective at marketing their commercial realty. Are you interested?
Yeah.
And then send them to us.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly.
Leslie, you've got your hand up, I see.
Yes, I did. Thank you. I did just want to point out that we do have a publication that goes out twice a year that's pretty informative, but mostly for in-town residents, called the Selections Update. But it is pretty antiquated and there's not a lot of visuals, but I think it's something that could be built off of. But that is more informational for in-town residents. There was a brief conversation this year about, oh, could we film each department head reading their update that they've written and make it a video? Or can we even get it online? Because it is not even online. It is a hard paper copy that gets mailed to every resident. So I think that it is an informative document, and department heads do provide an update twice a year. But some of it is, not very, like I said, it's for internal information. It's not, oh, come to Thompson, this is what we have. So it's different than what I think Brian's talking about, but is a document that could also be formatted in this way, and discuss about how to make that more visually appealing, and so that it reaches a larger audience, and how to make it more accessible, including digitally.
Yeah, I was thinking about the update earlier as well. When the idea of updating this digital book about Thompson once a year came up. And I think you can identify certain distinct shortcomings with the format of that document. One's already been identified. It's photocopied pieces of black and white paper folded and stapled together that get mailed whether you want it or not.
Mm-hmm.
You read it, you throw it away. It's an inefficient delivery system. It's not an engaging format. Also, I would say the language is very municipal, right? It's not promotional. And I think what Santos is talking about here, at least I think what he's talking about, is, the rah-rah moment, not the
right.
Hi, I'm the director of planning and development, and we've received 2 million. That's municipal language, and nobody cares.
Right.
Right. I don't even care when I'm saying it. Right. So, and this goes to stuff that Santos has said before about a mindset shift, not just for residents, but in how we present ourselves. I think we started to do that work with the work that you helped us with, Flaherty.
Mm-hmm.
But the delivery device, I think, is important, and the creation of an appropriate delivery device, because the content ultimately is always going to be on us. But how to think about that content, and helping develop a first exemplar that we can use, I think, is pretty important. Leslie, did I roll over you? I couldn't tell.
Oh, I just said my section in the Selectmen's Update is rah-rah and very exciting. I mean, the tax office, maybe not so much, but.
We would expect nothing less from you, Leslie.
That's right.
Yeah, mine is not. And I actually think that the projects we're doing are exciting. Now, partly that's because I have, 2 paragraphs that go out twice a year in a very sort of stodgy format. Format governs content to a certain extent. You're gonna fit what's in around you, and you like to think that it doesn't, but it does. You compose things differently if you're putting a letter on letterhead than you do if you're writing an email. You compose things differently when you're on Facebook than when you do when you're on the municipal website. But maybe there should be fewer stylistic barriers between the way we communicate the things that are of interest and important to us across these formats. I mean, sometimes you have no choice in sort of legal settings, but most of the time these aren't legal settings. We're just, look, everybody who works at town hall is either an actual neighbor or is in a neighboring community, right? These are not people who are far away. It is a very small world in that way. So there is no reason to talk to one another in our public communications as if we are, in fact, strangers trying to impress each other.
Yeah. I'm stealing that line.
Brian Flaherty, are you familiar with that DC catalog thing that I showed, the newsletter, the flip in? Are you familiar with that at all?
No. I
Okay.
mean, I've seen.
I'm sure there's a million versions of them, right?
No. So I've seen that device before. I didn't know that it was called the DC calendar, but
yeah.
But and you do that quarterly?
I do it yearly. Every December I issue
Okay.
that for the company.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's impressive. I mean, and it looks, that has that, it does have that draws you in look.
Yeah, I just
and-
feel like it's an easy read, and I
Yes.
say every single one of my staff reads it because we track it.
Right.
And everyone
Can we
reads it.
clarify, Santos, that you actually have a marketing department?
Yeah, no, I have a marketing department. I have two
Can we
people in
just-
marketing. Yeah, yes, I do. Yeah,
So does Thompson, and I'm glad to be talking with you again.
yeah. You are now the marketing department, so congratulations. I'm trying to force that down your throat.
Well, we should also point out that whatever budget exists for this will not exist until the next fiscal year, and that's if it emerges unscathed
Mhm.
from the current budget discussions. Ken
Sure.
Beausoleil, I'm talking to you right now.
The other,
We aren't unscathed. Did you see the email?
What's that?
We got money cut from the proposal.
No, I did not see that. So that explains what Ken was saying to me today. I was not copied on any such email. Okay, so
Well, good night.
there you
then.
go.
The budget's online,
Yeah,
Tara.
we-
Take a look. We
All
did.
right.
Part of our
The board
proposed
did
budget.
cut it, and I disagreed with it.
Okay, so that makes your conversation with me make more sense than it did to me this morning. Anyway, it doesn't mean that there's not something else we can juggle, but it does mean whatever we're juggling, that juggle is going to come out in the next fiscal year.
it's also something to look at with the selectmen's update. If we are going to a more digital format, we don't have an email server, so you can email to get updates, but like Brian was talking about, we can't track to see who opened it.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not looking for that either, Leslie. I mean, unless it comes to, I just do that because I'm interested to make sure everyone's reading and.
Oh, me too. I love constant contact.
Yeah.
I love
But
analyzing.
talking about the budget, though, I mean, it's March. I mean, there's still an EDC budget, right? I mean, do we have anything left?
Well, there is, but it's
Depleted?
committed to projects.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's not depleted because we haven't spent it, but we are about to.
Okay.
And the exception of that is the controversial project.
Yep. Understood
so,
completely. Gotcha.
So that if things go pear-shaped on that project, yeah, that money's there. It would not make me the happiest in the world to use it in that way because of our intentions, but
Sure. I gotcha.
I'm a pragmatist.
Yep. I didn't know that would deplete us, but I should have just recognized that. Sorry. My bad.
It's okay.
All right. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, Brian Flaherty. So thank you for your ear. Really do
Oh, no,
appreciate it.
thank you. And look at, this gives, number one, it's great to talk with you all again. I really appreciate Tara reaching out and giving us a chance to reconnect. We had planned, by the way, in our proposal that to build the plan, checking in a couple of months down the road just to see how it was going. But Charlie, to your point, I will be having that conversation at lunch. This gives us a time to think and to put some ideas together and to be ready when you are. And look, we're at your service anytime, because this is worthwhile. I think it would be a very exciting and a logical next step from what we worked on together. And appreciate to have the time. And you want to come back?
I hope it comes to fruition because I strongly believe in it. I personally have had great success with some of this stuff. So I just wish it. We're doing a lot of good things and trying a lot of good things in this town, and we need to be more promotional about it. That's for sure.
Understood.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
We release you if you, huh? Well, I was just looking for my page in the budget, actually. Well, it's up to you, Mr. Flaherty. You're always welcome to stick with us, but I think you've already been with us for quite a while tonight. So if you want to enjoy the rest of your night,
well, I don't want to wear out my welcome, but I will use this as a prudent opportunity to get a couple things done, and I have to hand in my annual review before I leave the office tonight. right here. But anyway, let's stay in touch on email, call anytime, and we'll be ready if there's something that you need.
Yeah, and I'll probably follow up with you within a week or so, just to see what other thoughts you have here.
Okay, one less Brian in the room as of now. You all be well.
Good night.
All right, good night.
Bye.
Okay, so let's go back to the agenda because I already forget where we were. Okay, so we did, moving on. Well, does anybody want to talk about any of that? Well, since Flaherty's gone, just in synopsis before we move on. It sounds like not. Okay, 11th Village Maker Faire Action Plan for Branding Members. I just tossed this on there again because we are live now. We want to be sure that it's a success. Maybe we don't need to cover much more than we already did, but it is an opportunity for people to say more here. You guys are so tractable all of a sudden.
I have a question about the nights when music is scheduled, and that is, could we see about having Rain's location and putting a concert in the historic Turtle Lot auditorium?
Yeah, so in summer 2020, it was arranged to have that as our backup Rain location, but as you know, we weren't allowed inside. So I have reached out to the school to see if that, if they're willing to have that be the Rain location for this year.
Good.
It was scheduled last year.
Good.
I will just say on the action plan for branding members, for the Maker Faire, I know we really loved having Charlie's help the day before the event. Charlie will probably be reaching out to help mark the fields again, and Brian Yacino and Brian Lafredo, you guys were there as well. I think the morning of helping. So anything that folks can do, really, the big times for those. In the day before, a lot of things that need to get loaded onto the truck, and then the morning of at setup between 7:30 and 9:30, and then really the end of the day, that 4 to 6 o'clock is when we it doesn't have to be an all-day commitment, but really the setup and the breakdown is where we can always use extra hands. So
Anybody, anything else on this topic? Solicit vendors, guys. Item 3-3, grants report. I'll give you the quickest possible synopsis so we can talk about a couple of these other things. Grants awarded the assistance grant to start a walking school bus project with the school that I submitted on their behalf. Was accepted sort of informally, but it's going to be formally accepted, before the end of the fiscal year. What we had hoped was that would coincide with the sidewalks being done. We had a conversation, Janet and Amy and Rich and I today, about the logistics of that. Rich strongly feels that the sidewalks will not be done in this season because the RFP hasn't gone out to bid yet. His rationale seemed quite logical. So that, might be a disappointment, but at least we know it's going to be done in general. But anyway, the walking school bus project is an assistance grant from the Active CT program. They're going to send consultants to work with the school security staff to develop safe walking to school routes through North Grosvenordale. And then they'll do a little pilot of it in October, and then the month of May 22, they'll do the full month of May, kids walking to school, rain or shine, along these designated routes with security chaperones. So that will be something, again, that we can tie into the new walkability, the whole sort of revitalization of the downtown corridor. So once that starts to get active, we want to talk about it. The micro grant that I applied for on behalf of Teague Rec and the Girl Scouts, all that stuff has been received. It was a very small cash award and a bunch of gardening tools and supplies. And the youth groups are working on adding a little pollinator garden program and event to do down at the community garden to publicize that, again, to get people aware of the site, and also to try to pair the elders and the youngers to get more people out and using it. I told you about the summer camp grant that was submitted. I am going to try to bang out 3 grants before the 31st of March. One of them being a USDA Rural Business Development Grant. It's a very complex grant, and that's related to 65 Main, so I can't really submit it until we've crossed the hurdle of whether the trust will support it. If all that happens in short order, then I can submit. There is a technical assistance grant I'm planning on applying for with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to develop essentially an emergency plan for the residents immediately adjacent to the North Grosvenor Dale Dam. Not really a branding or an EDC project, but I wanted you to be aware of it. On Monday, I submitted a grant on behalf of the school, an equipment request to a weaving supply company. Lynn Landry, Sarah Furbush, and Jerry Nall and I worked up a proposal to request $3,000 worth of student weaving equipment. Kind of a long shot. They only award 2 a year. I have no idea how competitive it is, but it's a nice little application. And then there is another youth gardening grant, which if time allows, I'm going to try to slam in before the 31st from the Whole Foods, Whole Kids gardening program. I try to apply for as many of these things as I can, little ones, big ones, because you can attack things from many angles. And each piece that we succeed in, gives us something new to talk about and get people excited about. Sometimes even when you don't succeed with the award, the development of the description of what you want to do sets you up for the next one and gets people thinking. Tangentially to that, not really related to a grant, but because I was talking to Sarah Furbush, I think she is going to, she's at least interested in accepting a commission to make a piece of public art with those nips, not with the kids, her. She has a history of public art installation, apparently. She did some stuff down south that looks very nice. So again, funding dependent, and I have to go back and review now what they took away from us and where, and see how we can shuffle some things around. But there are things that we can put in motion, many of which are grant related and some are not. So that's my quick synopsis there. Item 4, correspondence. I'm going to say none. And now, member comments. The floor is open, guys. Who's up first? Not me.
May I? 2 things. I should have mentioned, because you told me to come back to the discussion about bicycling events to coincide with the 11th Village and routes that would be involved with it. That's something that's beyond my control at this point. I'm going to be following up. But when Tira made a comment about nearby towns, it prompted me to take a quick look over at Pomfret's website. I put up a note on the chat. I don't know if you all got it. Please take a look at their homepage, because I think it has a lot of what we were suggesting we might like to see with ours, and it's put together by the same company. So take a look and see if you agree that it is far more readable. It's got a lot more go-to spots off the front page, including down near the bottom. There's 3 icons. One shows a food pantry thing. One shows, I don't remember, but then there's an arrow above it that says everything or more or all or something like that. And when you click on that, you get lots of stuff that's really accessible and good articles. And so we're not reinventing a wheel. It would still be around anyway. So we might as well point to these guys and say, look, you're already doing a lot of what we think we would like.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at that. I saw your note in the chat, Charlie. I think the point here is that there's other options, right? There's
Yes.
options there, right? So food for thought.
Anybody else? Come on, guys. I feel like we did have something else we were going to revisit. Yes? No? Maybe?
I don't know.
You know, I had another, when Brian was talking about, did you know, which all of that is a good idea, by the way, the newsletter type format and the pictures, and it reminded me of something that I do besides newsletters. Is I have a did you know, but it's more to kind of build a little bit of pride. It's, did you know that we're the site of the most famous train crash in the United States?
Yep.
Did you know we used to be a large manufacturer of Arrow shirts? That kind of thing.
I love that.
We could have just a monthly little spot on our website,
I love
just
that.
maybe to get people to tune in.
I love that, Brian. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think all kinds of things like that, which, what does it get lumped under human interest? Well, it's humans that we want to be interested. So, let's be interesting. And there are interesting things. And, it's funny, especially in the early rounds of the drafting of the POCD when George O'Neill was super involved, and he dropped off in the later chapters. But, he was super enthusiastic and energized about saying, tell people about this history and tell people all this stuff they don't know. And they were all good points. And a lot of that stuff, in fact, ended up in the document, which, by the way, is due for formal adoption tomorrow. If any of you want to dial into the public hearing to make sure nobody tries to shoot it down. Not that I'm concerned about that at this point. It's all pro forma. But, all of that work that we did during that 5-6 month period was thinking about these very topics. What is interesting? What is special? What do we want people to know? And that's a long form document to last 10 years, but encapsulations of those ideas and projects, yeah, I think absolutely right. That's stuff that we should put on our most accessible platform, which is our website. The stuff that's longer form like that, and then we have the social media pages for stuff that is ephemeral, events and news stories that come and go with their relevance. So regardless of whether we can afford to take Flaherty on to help us with this, although I think we can probably find a way to manage that, let's think about that. And we've had a version of this conversation in this meeting and in EDC meetings. Again, since we wrapped work on the POCD, let's try to take little pieces of that and say who's going to do what in the next month until we meet again. Or in this case, everybody, this is like an extra EDC meeting. It's really because we don't have Renee and Charlene, who were the two different members. In the next 2 weeks, what do we want to come back with and have an idea sketched out for? And I'll keep doing the things that I've been doing, the pressers and trying to update websites and make social media posts and whatever. Shoot me action prompts. I'm really good with action prompts out of my email, but I would like the effort to be more organized as well. And I think that's what these meetings are for.
Agreed.
Anybody, anything else?
Nope.
I'll think of it after we hang up.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah, I mean,
Good.
the
That's
only,
efficient.
I mean,
Go ahead, Ken.
if anybody's interested in the budget presentation to the Board of Finance and the school is tomorrow night.
Following the POCD public hearing. So if you want to make a night of it, get a 6-pack, dial in at 6 to the public hearing for the POCD, which will be easy and friendly, and then crack 2 for the budget presentations. Who knows how those will go.
It should go pretty quickly, straightforward. The real nasty stuff starts when the Board of Finance gets into it.
Well, that's true. That's true. Okay, guys. Good work as always. I think we have things to think about. But I guess I particularly want to urge everybody, not just on the thing Santos brought up, but anything you can do to promote the 11th Village and the Garden over the next month, because those are active and now and have a start date. April 1st is when the garden is open for gardeners. And we'd like to have at least some participation other than the youth groups if we can get them. And May 1st, of course, is the opening of the 11th Village and the Maker Faire.
Okay.
Your assignments have been handed out.
I'll take another stab at the TBA. Charlene is back, right? Have you seen her?
Well, nobody's really seen her because she hasn't been going out much, but I do believe she is back. I haven't talked to her really.
She's made a few posts on Facebook recently that made me believe that she was in town. I didn't know that she was not.
Yeah, I mean, as of last Saturday, we had the grand opening for Drifters. And I think she was still away. I was talking to Missy DeRozier.
Yeah, I haven't seen either of them up here.
Okay, well, that's all right. We'll catch up with her hopefully next month, and yeah, get people in the garden, get people in the village, guys. Have a good night.
Bye,
Good night.
Pat. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Later.